And I don't really know, I don't know what actually happens. That's like impossible to know. But um, sometimes I just think that there's like a collective and where, maybe parts of us are in each other, like the ocean, like the rain comes down, it's
Hmm.
all cycle
Hmm.
in the simulation or whatever it is. So I'm not really sure if it's like you go from one body to another and it's like the
Right.
complete soul. I kind of feel like it's a mixture or
Right.
something like that.
Right.
And that's kind of what I've felt for a while, and that's my belief on it.
Yeah. No, I agree with that completely. And the fact that I was just interviewing somebody yesterday where we talked about the essentially the one consciousness. There's the theory that we're all just one with everything,
Yeah.
you know, and we're really the one consciousness that's kind of living this entire thing. And so that's why it's possible for reincarnation, for understanding it, you know.
Yeah,
The other thing that's really interesting is, I guess we can just go ahead and get started if you want.
for sure. Yeah.
Um, I think that your story is it's captivating because of the way that you kind of laid it out and how it was processed. You found out about this when you were probably about 7, right? And you had this feeling that, was it just some kind of like connection to John Lennon, or how did that start?
Well, I guess first it was my mom would always play this like Beatles CD in the car, and um, I mean, it's hard to remember that long ago, but I do remember like having a like vision of like being in New York, people around like outside
Hmm.
that building.
Hmm.
And I was like, I didn't even think about it. I didn't know who John Lennon was. I didn't know who the Beatles were. I was just like, oh, because she brought up that he had died in New
Hmm.
York or something like that. And I just like, I think as children, we're a little bit more in tune with that
I
side.
agree with that. Yeah.
I could lucid dream all the time when I was a kid and like just have
Really?
weird premonitions and stuff like that. But now I don't. So I don't know if it's because the veil is there more. I'm just more grounded in this reality. Um, but yeah, so I just had that and I was like, oh, whatever.
Hmm.
And then I think when I was like 9, something like that, I was on like IMDb for some reason and just looking around, and then I
Yeah.
came across John Lennon's page,
Mhm.
and like just looking immediately at the photo, I was like, whoa, like everything came over me, like this is me, or like I don't know what that feeling is, but just like looking at somebody I knew or I had a strong connection to, and
Hmm.
then ever since then I was like finding all these weird synchronicities and things that lined with his life, and lessons that apply to my life too. So yeah, it was really, that was like the main changing point when I saw his photo, and I was
Hmm.
like, oh whoa, you know.
Yeah. And synchronicities are really important. They're also very interesting because synchronicities exist in this reality. And I know a lot of times people who are very biased in their thought process will think that it's a coincidence or
Hmm.
something that has no meaning or no purpose to it.
Yeah.
But when you can really narrow down the fact that these synchronicities have, it's almost like they're meant to happen and meant to be there in order to kind of guide you and help you along this, to give you a little bit of a hint to what you had experienced or to what had happened to you in a past life. That's where these things start to become unexplained.
Yeah.
And the synchronicities in this reality are fascinating.
Hmm.
They really are. I think that people need to look at synchronicities more than what they have in the past, because it's almost like it helps you follow along on the journey that you're supposed to be on. Does that make sense? It's almost like
Yeah.
breadcrumbs that's left behind in order to give you
Oh,
a little bit of clues.
completely. I mean, I didn't even know anything about spirituality when I was like 9 or 10 or
Hmm.
11. I had no idea. I was just playing like Neopets
Sure,
on my computer
sure,
and
sure.
hanging out. But I remember weird things would happen, especially around that time when I first saw his photo and stuff. And then weird, like, Beatles or John synchronicities would happen. Like, I remember maybe like a year later, it was like my birthday. And then we were in the car, and like the Beatles song Birthday played. I've never heard that song played on the radio
Really?
ever. And or before that. And then one time I was talking about like maybe something after death with my mom, and she was like doubting things, and I was like, oh, I don't know, like I believed this like reincarnation stuff for a while. And I look over and there's like a John Lennon license plate, and I'm like,
Really?
okay,
Oh,
there's
so
little breadcrumbs all the time. And then I didn't
yeah,
get into spirituality really till I was like in my 20s, and then I was like, oh, okay, yes, synchronicities are there to
yeah,
confirm your real intuition and tell you that that's true,
yeah,
what you're feeling. Yeah.
exactly. So when this first came to you, and I know you were younger, and you mentioned the veil, and we talk about the veil. As a matter of fact, in my book, I talk a lot about the veil being lifted, because it feels like this reality that we live in is not a true reality. It feels like it's just a mock-up of something that we have to process and go through in order to get to the true reality, in order to get to the other side of things. And when I talk about the veil, and you happen to mention it as though it's like blocking your memories.
Mm-hmm.
And what better way than to continue living life after life than to block out the memories of your past life, so that way it's like a fresh start.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Like this is a complete fresh start. And of course, let's say, okay, and I know that this is highly opinionated right now, and a lot of people who are listening and watching are going to think there's no way that you were John Lennon. So just we'll throw that out there. This is highly opinionated, but the synchronicities are there, the memories are there, and we have to look at reincarnation very seriously. So put all that into consideration, and let's say you were John Lennon. The fact that you are now who you are today shows that the reset of a life, right? You can be anybody, anything, end up anywhere. And the whole reason and the whole purpose of life is to continue now with your next journey, if that makes sense. Like you had your journey
Yeah.
in that past life. Now you're onto this journey, and now you're
Mm-hmm.
moving forward. You need to learn something else, whatever it is, but those memories they're locked away
Right.
until you cross over, right? Until you're done. And because I do believe that when we all cross over to the other side, everything's revealed and you understand the truth to
Mm-hmm.
all of this. And you remember
Yeah.
your past lives. You'll actually
Yeah.
remember them.
Yeah. I
Because
also think, we are kind of stuck in this reality,
Mhm.
and that veil is totally there if you've ever taken, psychedelic or anything
Mhm.
like that. I have. And
Oh,
um,
you have.
that's when you kind of realize like everything's just in front of your face, like
Uh-huh.
all this like
That's it.
intuitive synchronicity, weird stuff. It's magical.
Mhm.
But and even just looking at, you can see there's connections between people, or they share similar souls or something like that. But yeah,
Okay.
once you're back in your mind and the way it processes things as a human being naturally in that state, it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's so much that's kind of hidden from us.
Yeah. Now I am going to bring this up. What kind of psychedelics did you try?
I've just done like acid, a little bit
Okay.
of mushrooms.
Okay.
I'm not a heavy user or anything. Just
Okay. So you haven't tried DMT.
no, no.
Okay. So DMT, and we've talked about it before, it's known as the spirit molecule, and
Mhm.
we all have it within us. As a matter of fact, when we die, DMT is released from the brain. So the point to DMT for me and psychedelics, because I know there's a lot of friends of mine who are part of the psychedelic community.
Yeah.
And so I've talked to them many times about all of these things. There is a connection to that type of, I don't know, influence or release in the body that disconnects our consciousness from this physical realm. And it helps us to understand more about what we live in and understand our purpose, our journey, our mission, whatever you want to call it. And DMT is one of the best ones to do because it's a natural thing that's in our body. Psychedelics like psilocybin, mushrooms, those are all natural. Those are really good to utilize to help kind of break free this connection. This it's almost like we're connected to this physical body, and that
Yeah.
distracts us from the truth because we're on this journey specifically.
Right.
And so what I find so fascinating about this is that when we cross over and we come back, it's almost like we carry on as a similar physical trait. Does that make sense? Like we tend to follow a physical look in order to maybe find other people that we've known in past lives in this life.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
So that's why a lot of times we'll look like certain people in a past life. We'll have certain facial features and everything in order to communicate that to somebody else. And that's why when you meet somebody for the first time, you might like them, like you might feel like you're so connected to them, or you might hate them completely.
Exactly.
And it's because you recognize them from something that happened in a past life, probably trauma or probably something really good. Maybe they were a protector for you or a friend. So that's the kind of thing that is really fascinating to me about these types of stories. Now, you had some pictures that you posted, and I'm going to pull up those pictures, and I want to talk about them because we just talked about what people look like here. So let's see. Okay. So you can see this, right? This photo? Okay. So now everybody's looking at this. So, okay. You compared side by side the pictures here. So I want to we'll start from the bottom because who is this guy here in this picture?
That's Brian Epstein. That's the Beatles manager.
Okay.
But he died, I think in 67 or 68. Drug overdose. Yeah.
Okay.
They were all close.
And then who is this woman here?
It's my friend Brooklyn.
Okay.
So Brooklyn and Brian.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay. So I see that connection, and that's what we were talking about before, the synchronicities. Okay. And they look very familiar. The facial features look like they would be related.
Yeah. Yeah. And I one night, it was like one night I was like started realizing that my friends did kind of look like past people do. And it was a weird time. I think it was in high school. So, I thought about, or I discovered this connection when I was in middle school, elementary school, and then met these friends in high school and realized this.
So this is really interesting because if she is that reincarnation then of Brian, then that means that if you are that reincarnation of John Lennon, that means these two were friends, and that connection then carries over into this next life.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And then that's how you can kind of recognize, and this is what I was talking about, because if we keep similar facial features, then even though Brian is now Brooklyn and takes on more of a female, embodiment, the facial features are still there in order for you to recognize and to accept Brooklyn as your friend, as somebody who's a confidant, somebody who you trust and recognize from that previous life. This is really interesting.
Yeah, so, we're like the closest friends too, and we're super different, but it just felt like we're very comfortable around each other and just had all the inside jokes like we've known each other forever.
Yeah.
So that's when I knew she was somebody important.
So now going back up here then, so we have John Lennon here and then we have you here. So I notice the facial features here, this the jaw, right? The cheeks seem to really fit. And even the nose really fits. So
yeah, I've noticed in our expressions sometimes, like our smiles sometimes in the eyes. That's what I noticed.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm part Asian now, so
So you're,
whatever.
yeah, you're half Asian, correct?
Half Asian. Yeah,
Okay.
my mom is Asian.
Okay. So go into that a little bit because you wrote about that in your story.
Yeah.
Because we're going to go up to this picture here. There's John with Yoko, and I think you mentioned something about your mom and
Hmm.
Yoko.
Yeah, they're pretty similar in a way. I know Yoko's still alive
Hmm.
and stuff, but they are similar in like my mom's very aggressive, kind of
Kind of a
demanding,
take charge kind of person.
takes charge lady, tiger mom
Yeah.
sort of
Yeah.
energy. And I can totally see the lesson, like in that, there's a little bit of like codependency going on still in my life and trying to, separate ourselves. John was super codependent on Yoko, even in the later years, from what, I've read
Mm-hmm.
stuff. So, yeah, I still like struggle with that independence factor in my life now and trying to uh, be my own person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And with John losing his mother at a young age, he relied on Yoko for
Yep.
that. Yeah.
He had a lot of mom issues, and
Yeah.
Yoko, yeah, he called her mother.
Really?
He called her mother, and yeah, he kind of looked at her to call the shots all the time and make the moves. He
Right.
was really looking for that kind of guidance.
Right. And that is something that is parodied in TV shows and films and everything because so many people knew about that back then that he really did just kind of put her in charge. It's almost like he needed that boss type figure to kind of help manage and run his life that he didn't have. And so he relied on her, and they use that as a kind of like a gag in TV shows and everything to say that he's separated from the Beatles because of that.
Yeah,
But
and I'm sure there's a little. No, I don't know if that's super true, but at the same time, I think that his attachment issues and stuff probably did get in the way of that.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, so that's interesting then to, if we theorize this and we see the similarities, you can see the similarities with you, with you're laughing, you're smiling, and then same with him. I mean, I can see it. I really can see it. If that's the case, then it's no wonder why you would choose to come back, as you were, and then in that half Asian, situation and then still embracing the culture and still embracing what you need from your mother, which would be
Yeah.
very similar, yeah, to Yoko.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, and I had weird separation anxiety when I was little too. For no
really,
reason. Just I remember like the only one that would cry, when she left my preschool or something. Like I would have like panic attacks. Um, I just thought I would lose her or she would die or something all the time, like so bad. Um, so yeah, I had a lot of attachment to my mom for some reason as a young child.
I want to thank you for watching this video. I really hope that you enjoyed it. We talk about a lot of crazy stuff here, so if you want to hear more, just like and subscribe to the channel. It'd really help us out a lot. And plus, if you have a crazy story, whether it be an alien abduction, near-death experience, or something of the paranormal, or a glitch in the matrix, please let us know. Share it in the comments. We'd love to have you on the show.